Something
Yes.
I notice about Ambassador Tibonaj is he always tries to, when he wants to justify his argument, he tells us there's nothing like an international community. It makes it to seem like it is a hypothetical concept. I was just about asking you, Mr. President, when you look at even from the first-hand information you have with those you communicate with to advocate and internationalize our struggle, creating relationship, you look at this dark cloud. I was about asking you, what is your hope? But you seemingly would have answered that. So, and you're now talking about Tibonaj giving prescriptions, and one of which prescription is a referendum. And you've thought about that a lot of times. I'm going to play one of your videos after this program with you teaching the community, Amazonian community, of the pros and the cons of that thought. Now, my question goes again to you. Your stance is clearly known. Why are you completely opposed to the idea of a referendum, which has widely, according to Tibo Nagy, it has a widely advocated potential? And according to him again, that is what can call the UN. The UN cannot ask Cameroon to meet us on the table. But the international community that he doesn't believe they exist, and the UN can ask them to negotiate with us on the terms of a referendum. Why are you completely disinclined to the idea of a referendum, Mr. President?
Or somewhere the United Nations can do nothing, but somewhere else the United Nations can do something. Somewhere the international community is nowhere to be found, cannot do anything, but in another stretch, United Nations, international community can do something. When you hear statements like that, you know that these are just statements of manipulation. Because when you start by saying that our core argument should be discarded, we should forget about it, we should go for a referendum. Let me explain to the people once more. When you discard our core argument of a separate country, in fact, the United Nations, in their record, we are a separate country. Time will fail me to read the 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 the, the documents, the deliberations, even the content of the resolution 1608. We are a country. So let me let me show you what we agreed. Because when somebody say that we should have a referendum now, it means that we have taken out, and we should not base on resolution 1608, but we should accept the referendum. From who? If we don't go back to the argument of the historical argument that led us into this failed union, we should discard it and not believe in it. Then we should accept a referendum. The question is, will we accept that referendum from who? It is only possible that it is going to come because a referendum is a it is a law that is going to be passed by who? Who is going to order the referendum? If the United Nations should not look into this matter, because let's forget about the UN and Resolution 1608, who is going to order the referendum? La République du Cameroon. That's it. So the person is telling you, and if La République du Cameroon orders a referendum, that the Southern Cameroon should organize them. If they order a referendum, it means that they are going to be in charge. They are in charge. But the first plebiscite, which was a consultation of our desire, was not organized by La Republique. It was even argued on the floor of the UN that they should have also consulted the French Cameroon side if they wanted to join with us. Then we were the ones who were consulted. Now, in a union that has failed, where we are being killed as animals for demanding, for saying that we have no legal relationship together, and this is a courtship. We don't deserve to order here, and we want to go. Then they say that we should go and ask La Republic to give us a referendum. Because as for the United Nations, continue to believe or talk about Resolution 1608 is a waste of time. How does that feel? It means that they want us to deny all our arguments and put our fate in the hands of La Republic. Because if La Republic for 62 years have never organized a free and fair election, they don't know that it is not in their vocabulary or in their psyche or in any of their senses anything that can be called a free and fair election or vote. That does not exist in their vocabulary. How can they, a free people who were consulted in a plebiscite, and we expressed our desires, and the same United Nations told us that when now that you have agreed on certain things in your note verbal, you have agreed, and that note verbal that was agreed to between Foncha and Ahijo on the 16th of December 1960 was integrated as part of Resolution 1608. Yes. There you come and tell us that we have to go back now, but to them, when the union did not take place, when the resolution was not even implemented, when in reality, legally speaking, we are still who we are and they are still who they are. Then now we have to go and ask their parliament if they can give us a referendum to determine our fate. What is this kind of institution that only makes laws but cannot implement them? What's this kind of institution that can only make laws but will never review them? Even the Supreme Court of different nations, which is the supreme law, which declares the supreme law of the land, or defend the supreme law of the land, has the power to review its own laws and its own rulings and change them. But the United Nations cannot. So that is already, if that is how if somebody tells me that that's how the United Nations was formed and that's what it was meant to be, then it was useless. It was inconsequential. It was just some political dressing by certain powers that be in the world. So we cannot accept a referendum from La Republic, and no other country can come from somewhere and give us a referendum. It is either going to be La Republic or it's going to be the United Nations. We cannot take a referendum from La Republic because we are not part of La Republic. They cannot give us, their parliament has no legal powers or legislative powers over our country. They cannot legislate anything over us. And if the United Nations cannot look into the matter, because if the United Nations is the one looking into the matter, they cannot talk of a referendum. The idea of a referendum it presupposes that we are one country, that a certain part of the country is agitating, and so in response of that agitation, let us give them a means of expressing their wish, their desire, or wish to stay or to go. We are not part of them. We are not seceding from them, so they don't owe us any referendum. We are a separate country. Let's look at the agreement that brought us together. If we see that there was no agreement and there is no marriage, why should we send the parties to court? Why should we desire the parties to go through any process in order to separate or not? If the very instruments of unity show that there was no unity. And those people who want us to stay with La Republique, by all means, they want us to avoid that argument because that's where La Republique is knocked out 100 or 1000%.